Tonight we're going to talk about planning and tracking. And I know everyone's been in long enough that planning and tracking will be quite familiar to us. Our Slight Edge, as opposed to The Slight Edge, which is an excellent book, by the way, and maybe you want to have a look at it. But here you are, the 6 P's. Proper planning prevents very poor performance. And it does. So I always remember it was Bob Webb who said this one: an imperfect plan started today is better than a perfect plan started next week. And that is very much the case. Always remember that you want to, if you start working today, I think I said on Saturday at the training that if you introduce someone to the business 2 days after you start, then you know more than they do. So don't put off because you think, I'll wait till I know. No, an imperfect plan started today is better than a perfect plan started next week. And remember, it is plan, do, and review, which is what planning and tracking is all about. And again, I nicked it from Jeff Olson, and it is a good book, The Slight Edge. So the planning side of it is the deciding to do. But then if you don't actually do anything, then nothing's going to happen. This is something that Lynn has had in the system since day one. This is your big wheel. But if you've got a penny farthing, your big wheel won't go anywhere without your little wheel. But similarly, if your big wheel are your team builders, and your little wheel is your retailers, your team builders need your retailers, and the retailers wouldn't be there without the team builders. So it's very much a complement to one another. And I always remember Jackie White saying, value everyone, rely on no one. And really, that's what comes with your team building and your retailers. Each are valuable. It is important, though, to identify your team builders, because if you treat your team builder just like a retailer, then they're going to get very fed up. They're going to get exceedingly frustrated, like Mary, and they're not going to want to talk to you. So remember and identify where each person is. And it's just like going to school, unfortunately. You go to school, you sit your exams, the teacher puts you into a wee niche. Now, with a bit of luck, if it's a good teacher, the next time you sit your exams, the teacher will revisit that niche and see whether or not you should go into a different niche. Well, Clean Easy very much is like that. Because although you say no, 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 and if you remember last night, if you watched Andy Boswell's training, one of the girls, the first one, Stacey, I think, said, didn't want to do catalogues and certainly didn't want to team build. And within a very short time, she was doing both. So remember, if they're in your wee wheel, they might well end up in your big wheel. But similarly, if they're in your big wheel, they might end up in your wee wheel. So do consistent activity and do plug into the system and get your team to plug into the system too. Duplication is not you introducing someone. Duplication is you introducing someone who introduces someone. And I'll show you in a minute. But if you read Don Failla, the 45-second presentation, that explains it so well and so simply. And you don't need thousands of people to be successful. And at this moment, I'll just quickly trip in here. In some networks, you do need thousands of people. Not in Clean Easy. We have a range of products that, as you all know, sells very, very well. People buy it very, very well, even if it's not from Mary's online shop at the moment. We do have a lot of people who buy the products. However, the likes of some of the networks out there who tell you that they're very, very good networks do need a lot of people because they've got very few products. And the products they do have are all in the one category. They don't have the widespread that we have. So here's to develop your big wheel. Because you see, if you bring in 5 people and you teach them to bring in 5 people, and then you teach them to bring in 5 people, that's duplication. But you'll hear when I said there, you bring in 5 people and then you teach people to bring in people. You don't do it for them. You help them, you support them, you encourage them, you teach them, you coach them. You don't do it. So, you know, that's the difference. So although you might want your business to duplicate, if number 5 here isn't duplicating, then go and look for number 6 and see if they'll do that. Because again, frustration comes in and we all want that business to grow. And once you've done 5, guess what? You go and you do another 5. And then after that 5, you can go and do another 5 because it's all called money in your pocket, which is why Bob Webb is the highest earner, because he's got a lot of people front level who in turn grew into gold distributor businesses. But here's something that we maybe haven't seen for a while. We got this from Dave Pemberton Smith many years ago, probably in the region of 7 or 8 years ago, and he probably used it for a while before then. We've changed it a wee bit because it has to be updated when your business updates. You know, online wasn't there when Dave introduced this tracker. So here are the categories, which I'm sure you can all read. But the thing is, what you do is you decide what you're going to do. And then you break it in to small bits that you could complete on a daily basis. And I say daily because sometimes if you've got, if you want to do all your internet ads, now, say for example, you're doing 420 groups over a 7-day period with 2 products. What would happen if you decided you would do all of it on Saturday and Sunday? You'd probably get banned. You would catch only the people who go onto the internet on a Saturday and Sunday. So that's why it's important to spread everything across the week, because then your net's bigger and you get a different variety of people. We record the number of lead inquiries you got, the number of information emails that you've sent, because we don't post anymore. We record the messages you've sent, and you can get a copy of this, so don't try and jot it all down, because we're happy to email this out to everyone. Which, looking at Bianca's face, is what Ursula is doing. So, you know, you're going to, some of your leads, you'll only be able to message them, you won't be able to phone them, because they don't want you to. Well, that's all right, but we have a very good system for messaging people too. There's nothing to say that you can't follow them up. Presentations, again, Lynn has on the Make Money from Facebook website a presentation that you can go through, an opportunity presentation that you can go through with your prospect, or alternatively, you can let them have a look at it yourself, and the number of distributors that you want to come in. Then you've got the meetings. Lynn put on the tracker earlier, SFS. I didn't know what it was, hadn't a clue, couldn't think of what it was. I've got group webinar, only because I never thought of putting system for success. So there we go. Some of us have local meetings that we go to, you know, as in we physically turn up. We had one last Saturday, and there will be some in your area. Always remember when you go to a different group's training that there might be things that are a wee bit different. Remember, follow your own system and use the meetings to meet people, get stories, and just clarify maybe bits and pieces. But here's where the duplication comes in, because you want to take team members with you. It's not about you turning up every week on your own. It's about you turning up with people. And then you've got sizzles, whether it's one that your upline's holding or whether it's one that you're holding with your team. And sometimes at the beginning, the only person that's going to be in your own sizzle is you. Jim and I quite often sat in the sitting room on our own thinking, wonder if anybody's coming. And then you got the wee person coming that just wanted to come because he didn't want you to be in your own. He didn't actually want to work clean easy, but he didn't want you to be in your own either, which was really kind of him. But, you know, it was a bit of a waste of time. So do remember, they've got to be productive. Contact your upline, contact team members. It's important that you keep in contact with people so that you know what they're doing, what they're trying to achieve, so you can support them, so you can give them a few suggestions. But the most important thing here is review goals. Because if you're not doing enough up here, then up here will identify to you what you're maybe not doing enough of or getting enough of to satisfy the goal that you want to achieve. So you've got two options there. You either review your goal and you downgrade it, or you upgrade your activity. One of the great things about this, when Dave Pemberton Smith introduced it, was the scoring. Because you see, if your aim was, at that time I did 800 cards a day, so it was 4,000 a week. I only did it over 5 days, unless I wanted to go out Saturday and Sunday, but it was a bonus. But if at the end of the week I had done 3,900 cards and my target was 4,000, you would only have got a score of maybe 2, maybe 3, because you were only 100 off. How much work would it have taken you to do 100 cards? Not a lot. However, if your aim was 4,000 and you had got 2,000 cards out, then you would have got 2 or 3 because you did half of it. But this box here, where it says action to be taken, again, when you're talking to your sponsor and initially you want to do this with the person who introduced you or one of your upline, you want to do that with them so that you can get suggestions, they can maybe tweak it a wee bit for you, tell you things that you haven't thought of. And you can take notes there so that can be done. And then you can do it again, because you see it's every week that this gets done, until such a time as you're quite happy doing it yourself and doing it with your team members. So that tracker is our slight edge. As I said here, decide how much retail you're going to achieve each week, whether it be online or catalogues, how many online ads you're going to do, and what other activities you're going to include. It's not really enough just to depend on online. Online is a huge part of our business now, but how many people do you know that aren't online? I know quite a lot of people that aren't on Facebook, so we'll never see your ad. So remember, think about your circle of people when you're determining what you're going to do. But all of the activities will be determined by the goal that you're setting for yourself. So as I said, you're recording the leads, and the leads will increase as momentum grows. Compound effect. I get another good book, another book that will show you that as the leads grow, as you move into doing a consistent amount of activity on a daily basis, then your leads will grow, but they will peak. They will peak. And if it's not enough, then you need to decide what other activities you want to introduce. Maybe not more of the same, but one a wee bit different, so that you're catching a different market. And that's where the thought processes and talking it over with people sometimes helps. And of course, the more that you learn, the more you will be able to let the people in your group know. But why is a tracker our slight edge? Well, quite simply, it shows us our own consistency. We sometimes kid ourselves on that we're doing something when we aren't. We think we've done something or done more than we actually had. So by measuring our own actions, it shows us what we have or haven't done. It also commits us to continuing increasing our activities for 90 days. 90 days is the optimum number of days to do the activities. And I always remember Gary Watson saying, no, if you stop and you have a break in that 90 days, you've lost your momentum. So you start from day one again. So do remember that when you're planning what you want to do. It's like doing a customer base or building a customer base for 6-9 months and then thinking, I've got my customer base. I tell you what, I'm going to take 3 months off. Well, at the end of that 3 months, you will have still customers there, but they won't be the solid customer base that you had when you left them 3 months before. Activity is no different. If you'd miss a day because you don't feel like it, will it make a difference? No. No, not that day. And not at all if you do double the next day. But if you keep taking a day off when you feel like it, or time off without playing catch up, will that make a difference? Yes, I'm afraid so. It will. It makes a difference to the numbers. And it's like saying, well, I'm not going to phone my leads for a fortnight. You've worked really hard to get those leads. Why would you not want to contact them? So it gives you continuity, it gives you consistency. And simple decisions we make every day will impact in a positive or negative way. If I didn't give Jim his dinner 3 days out of 7, we would never, ever have got to 40 years married, I can assure you. He likes his dinner, and he likes it at a reasonable dinner time. He will come and go between 5 o'clock and maybe even 7:30. But please do not ask him to wait any later than that. So that would have been quite a negative thing. And it would have seemed so when I was doing it. It would just have been a wee argument. But it would have been quite a negative thing over a period of time. So they'll work for us, they're against us. I suppose it depends whether or not you want to be with Jim for 40 years, doesn't it? Let's go back to the weekly plan. No, Lynn. No, I know that. Lynn would have climbed the walls. Jim wouldn't have been there. Lynn doesn't eat regularly enough for Jim. Anyway, go back to the weekly planner, because you see, they work in conjunction with one another. If you're working this tracker, then you go to the weekly planner and then you see what you're going to do. It all makes sense. It's also logical when you look at it. And you just go through your weekly planner and you look and you see what you're doing. Are you going to be busy if you want to get to gold in 3, 4, 5 months' time? Yes, yes, yeah. I will, if I can just quickly go back. You'll see that in here, there's internet ads, there's Warren Market and 3 Foot Rule. Now, see if you decided that you were only going to do half of your internet ads that you had said you were going to do, but doubled your Warren Market and your 3 Foot Rule, you would still get to gold. And you would still get there as quickly, if perhaps not even more quickly. Which is why Lynn always says she works with Warren Market. She doesn't work with very many leads, but she works Warren Market and 3 Foot Rule. And that's maybe not just now. It's probably been since she came into the business. So, you know, you can juggle those things to make it less onerous if time is of an essence for you. But here's your planner. Now, the planner you've seen so often, and it really doesn't change. And all you do is slot in the bits that you want to slot in when you can slot them in. Obviously, you want to slot things in at times that is best for you, but also, you know, you maybe don't want to try and put cards out at 10 o'clock at night or shop ads. You know, so have a look at what's best at a particular time. I have met people that did their catalogues at 10 o'clock at night. Must have upset a number of dogs, but there's nothing to say you can't pop them quietly through a letterbox. So, as I said, use your weekly planner to fit in what you want to do. Sometimes it's not even what you want to do, but what you need to do. And remember your reason why. When times get tough and you're tired and it's wet and your catalogues are wet and they're all infecting one another and 40 folk have said no and nobody wants to talk to you and your team have all decided not to retail this week, remember your reason why, and remember that Lynn built a business with exactly the same statistics as we have every single day. And so too did all the other big earners in Clean Easy, because that's the only way you can build it. So find a way to fit the activities in. It is the nooks and crannies. It's the wee half hours here and there. Instead of sitting with a cup of tea and a biscuit, take the cup of tea to the computer and have your cup of tea and your biscuit while you're doing things like that. Don't deviate from your goal. Don't downgrade your goal. Upgrade everything else. You only get one shot at it. And you've only got the energy of a 30-year-old or a 40-year-old at that age. The energy depletes at 50. So you have to work harder. It depletes even further as you get older, but we won't go there. So use the tools that we have, because you see, we sit here. When I say we, I'm including Kate as well as Lynn. We sit here and we do trainings, we put them together from experience, from information that we've gleaned throughout the time. So use those tools. That's your tools. We're giving you them. We're putting them in a wee box and we're giving you them. All you have to do is take them out and actually use them. But don't be afraid of failure, because it will ultimately lead to success if you keep doing the actions day after day, repeated over time. because at the end of your 90 days, and I think Kate mentioned this on Saturday, what will you do? You'll just start your 90 days all over again with more experience, with more information, and you'll tweak things that will be more suited to you. And that's me. Thank you very much. That's the planning and the tracking. Oh, hello, Kate. You weren't there.